This is the first month in literally all the months I have ever had a TBR and actually stuck with my TBR, but also had an amazing reading month. Like amazing. A couple 5-star books in here and so much fun reading this month, which I think is the number one thing that is most important. I want to run through the 11 books that I finished in the month of July, kind of what my thoughts are, my star ratings, if I would recommend them. Also, quick shout out to the TBR jar because this thing came in clutch and it is 100% going to be used for the next month as well. The first book that I finished this month was Blood and Steel, and I ate this book up. I had this sitting on my TBR for so long, and I don't know why I never decided to pick it up, but last month was the month, and I did rate it 4.5 stars and loved it. This book follows Thea, and her death is foretold, and she just has dreams of being like this warrior. But in this world, women cannot wield any steel blades, so technically she can't be a warrior, but that's like her main goal. There is also like a broody chaperone type major mega warrior that's with her. That is the MMC. It was so good. There's monsters, force proximity. He trains her. Would 100% recommend this book. Rose in Chains by Julie Soto, and this is a Draco and Hermione fanfic, which I actually didn't know really going into this, but as I was reading it, I was able to pick up some similarities. This one is traditionally published, so it does not have the actual name like Hermione or Draco in there, but the main character's name is Bryony. Hermione, Bryony, Hermione, Bryony, again, you get it. This book was very entertaining. It was hard to follow in a couple certain parts to me. There is a captive situation going on. He literally buys her. There's mind magic and heart magic and a war going on and a succession to the lines. There is a lot happening. However, I loved her writing. I wish it wasn't in third person. I wish it was more in a first person book so I could really understand the feelings of our FMC here. But overall, I did rate this book 4 stars. I do want to finish the series. It is a dark fantasy romance, so heavy on the dark themes in here, so make sure that you check those trigger warnings before you read this book. So one of our picks from our TBR jar last month was A Tongue So Sweet and Deadly, and I love this book. And I think this is one of those books that even though it has a single narration, it is so well done on audio. I'm not sure if it's because it's written in third person and the narrator is just kind of so good at switching her voices around a little bit so you kind of know who's saying what and when without really having to like read in depth. But this book was amazing. Our FMC is a fae who had an accident and sent to the dungeons. However, she was released from the dungeons after a few years, and the king gave her this like blood oath, which is like a tattoo on her arm, and sent to another like little kingdom to live where she just becomes like a bar owner and runs all these bars. However, it's kind of more in a human world where the fae aren't really loved, you could say, because of like a war that happened years prior. The king sends her to this like broody kind of bodyguard vibes to watch over her and makes her run for regent, kind of like, I guess, a president type of the town where she has to do these trials and compete. And there's kind of like a love triangle situation, but I don't want to say like too much, but it's one of those books where it's like you don't know who the main love interest is going to be as things are happening. And I love that. It's a real slow burn. 10 out of 10, recommend, 5 stars, listen to it on audio. Definitely recommend this series. Another pick from our TBR jar last month was Scattered Bones, and this is a fantasy romance standalone. So we're talking a standalone, and it's under 300 pages, but it is done so right. Like, we have an epic love story. There's 2 different timelines going on, like a past and a present, which I personally love in books when you kind of get a glimpse into the past and then how things are unfolding and what's going on in the present. I love this. And when I say it's an epic love story, like I did cry in this book, even though I knew what was going to happen, it still got me. I cannot believe that a fantasy romance book under 300 pages was done so well. So if you remember from my TBR video, I was like real big on the struggle bus trying to find a fantasy book that I wanted to read. And the ones actually mentioned in my video, I didn't end up picking up. I did, however, pick up Flock. And let me tell you, this is a fun, spicy little ride right here. Good time. We have a wide shoe situation going on, and I went into this book completely blind. Did not even know what it was about. I actually thought for a second it was like a fantasy book. I don't know. We'll talk about that later. But this book was so fun. I finished it in a couple days. The audio is chef's kiss, done so well with that duet narration. But this book was amazing. I am so excited to see how the second book unfolds because I posted about this book and everybody in my comment section was like, come back and update me when you finish Exodus, which is the second book in the series, and let me know, because there's already like a lot of heartstrings being pulled in the first one. So I'm curious to see how this book unfolds. It's kind of got like a Robin Hood retelling vibes going on. Very interesting. Loved it. And I love when I get shocked by books when I just don't know what to expect going in. It was so fun. I also finished this book, Caught Up. This is the second book. I guess it's like an interconnected series. The first book is Lights Out. And you know, these are dark romance with like comedy vibes, so they're pretty funny. I loved Lights Out. I thought it was just a fun, entertaining, good ride. Nothing serious, just highly entertaining. I picked up Caught Up and I felt like the beginning was okay, and then it just kind of went for me. I ended up finishing it, which I'm actually even surprised I did, because I didn't feel connected to any of the characters. I wasn't really like super involved in the story, but the audio is really good. So do with that what you will, I guess. And the last pick for my TBR jar was an author I never read before. And so I just got sent this book by A.N. Horton called A Third Ring. And I decided, hey, let's read this book. It sounded interesting to me. She described it as a dystopian fantasy romance with trials and some spicy scenes. And I mean, what's not to love there, right? But within this book, everyone serves the gods, and there are these 10 different trials that happen every single year. And everyone that has been in the trials up prior has to take like this sworn oath to never discuss anything that happens in the trials. So all these new people that are, you know, being born and starting their trials, they have no clue what to expect. And no one has ever passed the 10 trials in over 1,000 years. So I thought it was very interesting. There is a dystopian element that kind of similar reminded me of like Hunger Games, but not too much. Is like everybody lives in these certain rings, and like the middle or the first ring being like your 1% elite, your top tier houses live there. And then it's like your second ring, which is more, you know, middle class, third ring, lower class. And then there's the deck, which is like your homeless. I don't want to say homeless, but your people that, you know, are just the bottom of the totem pole there. But I thought this book was really fun. There were a few pieces missing for me, so I did only rate it 4 stars. But it was a good time. I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it if you like dystopian fantasies. If you're looking for a vibes read, this is 100% it. In the veins of The Drowning by Kaylee Cassidy, this was a new book that was just released like 2 weeks ago. It's kind of blowing up all over TikTok already, and I ate this book up. It is so good. If you were a fan of Rachel Gillig's One Dark Window with that like gothic dark writing style, I guarantee you will love this book. I did rate it 5 stars, and I was actually a little bit surprised by it because I feel like sometimes I have to be in a very specific mood to enjoy like a dark gothic romantasy, but this one hit, and I was like gripped in it from the first few pages. Without giving like too much away about this book, there is a siren with wings, which is very interesting. There is some certain blood oaths going on. She has a bunch of secrets, kind of like a hidden identity almost, and this neighboring king comes to her kingdom where she lives with the king, and they basically have a blood oath together, so she escapes with him. And then the story just kind of takes off from there. Highly recommend. It was so amazing. There's also like some like undead monsters that are kind of giving like siren zombies, but like in a good way. Very emotional damage. The yearning is yearning hard in this book. Like we are talking 100% yearning hard, and it was a fun ride. Pick this one up. And the last book I'm going to mention, even though I haven't finished this yet, is Arcana Academy. I started this book and I'm about 50% through, so I don't have a for sure rating on it yet. So far it's so good. However, it's a lot of information to take in. So I love anything with like a dark academia setting, and this one hit, and it has a very unique magic system, kind of like tarot cards that you have to actually draw. and then the tarot cards release certain types of magic with whatever the card is. So it was very interesting. However, jury's still out because I haven't finished it yet. And the last two books that I guess started, and I'm gonna do a soft DNF on both. And I don't want this DNF to sound something negative because it's not a negative thing. I just don't think I was in the right frame of mind when I started these books. And my mind was like somewhere else wanting to read something else. So I couldn't like get fully invested in the characters. But one was a new release called A Forbidden Alchemy. This book was really interesting though. I love the beginning because the two main characters meet when they're children and then the story goes on to when they're like adults. And I kind of love those things. But for some reason, I was just not being gripped in at that time. However, I do want to finish the book, just not right now, when I have a better mind. And the other book I DNF'd was also a little bit surprising for me. It was Legendborn, which has been on my TBR for also a very long time. And I was trying to like listen to this book and I was trying to read this book. And then as I was listening, I was like doing too many things and kind of got distracted. And then I listened to like 45 minutes one day and was so confused on what was going on and everything, because I don't think I was like fully comprehending everything that was going on. And so I do want to give this book another try because I liked the premise of it, like a secret society type thing going on at an academy. And I thought it was really interesting. I just wasn't like fully paying attention. So I do want to go back to that again at a later date. So if you've read any of these two books, let me know your thoughts on them. If you enjoyed them, what you rated them, if you vibed with them, just kind of like a quick little yes, no. And that's all I got for this month. So it's been a wild ride. I did just also film my TBR picks for August, so those will be up soon. And like I said, shout out to the TBR jar because that thing is clutch. Thank you so much for watching and being here. I really, really appreciate you guys and happy to see you in the